the action plan, as Grace mentioned, is very different from what you've already seen. It's actually based on the desire to get things done and not just to necessarily place things in a document. It's very important for us to note too that the vibrancy of the association is very clear from the number of persons that have presented themselves for the opportunity to serve. And I think with the kind of experiences that exist within the association, certainly it is possible for the JAAA to be the best association in the world based on the experiences that are there. And I think we have to really pool the resources. But our vision is really to build on our athletic legacy. And this is for the quest for superiority, to be #1 in the world in track and field. And this is possible through the strengthening of our organization and through the changing of the culture that exists within the organization to provide transparency and, of course, integrity in all that we do. I'm going to ask you to just open your action plan and just follow with me as I go through this plan. We deliberately chose to do it this particular way so that you would get familiar with the document that you have in front of you. So the mission for change is essentially a call to action. And we are calling for action as we mobilize the entire athletics community, all the stakeholders within the community, to first evaluate our performances. How have we performed? What are the achievements over the decades? We want to look at the mission for the future. We want to engage persons as we define what the mission is, what the objectives are. We want to unite the community. There are many stakeholders. I think in all cases we could say that everybody would like to achieve the same thing. But somehow we get confused with the methods sometimes. And we have to unite the community around the vision. And we then work out the methods as we go through and make the association the best in the world. We want to attain and maintain world-class standards and world-class performances. And this will be possible when we continue to modernize how we do things, our techniques, not just our techniques, but also our administration and our management. Management is so important to getting the results that we need. And I think that we can actually take the association to the next level. Also, we want to be able to optimize the economic benefits that are there, that other associations and persons within the industry are benefiting from, and we have to optimize those as well. Page 4 of your action plan. Turn with me. We're building on the past successes of the association and of our athletes and of our coaches. And we also want to congratulate Coach Glenn Mills on achieving the award recently, and I thought it was quite notable for him to have dedicated it to the entire coaching fraternity in Jamaica, and we accept it as coaches. We accept it as well. But we believe that it is the association's duty to champion the welfare and development of track and field athletes to enable their success. That is what we believe. And this is possible, this will be done through a support program for the athletes, promoting of events outside of the sprints, and really allowing our athletes that have the capabilities, develop those capabilities, and for us to actually get to 20 medals in 2020. That's a vision of Grace, and we're pushing for that. So 20 medals in 2020 will be possible. This will be done through a sustained effort at the junior level, building the foundation. We actually think that the juniors could get to #1 world ranking before the seniors, considering how the juniors performed recently. And they've actually gotten gold medals in non-traditional events. We saw Frederick Dakers, we saw Shanice Porter. There's already that foundation, and once we continue to build on those foundations with the partnerships and with established institutions, will be able to get to that point. It is our firm belief that training and certification of coaches and officials is central to ensuring fair and healthy competition for all our athletes, and we are committed to ensuring that we attract and retain the best coaches and officials and support them in getting local and international certification. I deliberately read that part to make sure that it's underscored as to what we intend to do. This, of course, is divided into 5 main objectives. You turn with me, page 6 of your action plan. 5 main objectives, and these objectives are guided, are formulated in a specific action that we'll be carrying out, and there's some timelines to these actions as well. The first objective is to develop a comprehensive athlete support program. This is something that has been mentioned quite a bit from all the other teams, and I think it's because we've come to the point where we realize that this is essential for us to move forward. Many of our competitors, our competing nations have these things in place, and we're a bit lagging behind, and it's affecting our ability to continue to produce the world-class athletes that we love to see parading their skills on the international scene. So part of this will be the development of a registry, and Grace alluded to it by saying that it's more than a database. A registry is something that's alive, that allows us to track all the different stakeholders within the association, all the athletes at all levels, and athletes are at different levels. And once we're able to track the athletes, support for athletes will be different depending on the level. And we have to make sure that we're supporting the youth, we're supporting the children, we're supporting the juniors and the elites. And of course, there's this transition group from juniors to elites as well that we have to make sure we're looking at. And this establishment of the athletes registry is something that we will do immediately. Within 6 months, we'll actually get this done. It's an ongoing process, but it will start immediately. The step 2, establishing a program to develop support for athletes that we identify through the registry. Support for athletes is more than just financial. It's medical, it's accommodation, it's training facilities, it's coaching. A lot of athletes are not getting the kind of coaching that they really desire. And some people are stuck in a particular place because they just cannot get access to the coaches that they need. And this is something that we'll actually help with. And this will happen in year 1. Step 3, where we're partnering with established institutions, this is something that we'll do in year 2 as well. The second objective, as we look at our 5 objectives, the second one is to structure the National Junior Championships program to foster post-secondary school development. This is, of course, a 2-step process. It will involve us really looking at establishing partnerships with schools and organizations within the first year, allowing for the athletes to benefit from personal development and other aspects as well. This will also be in line with the plan to identify national coaches that will then form this group that will help to provide the kind of guidance to the athletes in the different geographic locations. So step 2, within 6 months, we were to identify best practices within schools. There are some schools that have very good programs, very good funded programs. There are some things that they do that lead to their success, and some of those things must be documented, and we try our best to replicate those because in the end, it's all about Jamaica. We need to move away from being so protective about our schools and thinking that schools are more important than the nation, but in fact, that is not so. And so once we look at those best practices and roll those things out throughout the entire country, we guarantee that we'll see much better performances within the short to medium term. There's also the opportunities for junior athletes to be mentored. That is something that is immediate. You can see it. and that's something that we'll do in 3 to 6 months. Junior athletes have access to training facilities and coaching outside of the school term. This is an issue where in most cases the coaching and the support for the students who are in high school stop post-champs or just about there. And we need to make sure there's a program in place to guide those athletes for national representation after champs, after the pen relays to the national championships. We've seen a drop in fitness of some of the athletes after champs, and that's because of the fact that some of the schools aren't really supporting the development beyond the champs from a financial standpoint as well. And so we have to fill that gap as an association so that we can, as a nation, benefit completely from the athletic prowess of our juniors. So within a year, we'll be able to start that process, and also that last bullet point there, develop consistent and clear selection criteria for national teams. This is something that's a sticking point, it's a sore point consistently, and this is something that we're going to be addressing within 6 months of being in office. We have to get that criteria. There seems to be a different criteria for juniors and seniors, and certainly we have to make sure that we engage all the stakeholders and make some clear guidelines for selection of teams. The third objective, the strengthening of the existing organizational structure. This is something that we'll be doing as a 4-step process. Within the first step, in terms of budgets and sharing that information with our members, a strategic plan, sharing that information with our members, appointment of subcommittees, looking at sponsorships and the fundraising component. These are things that we'll do within 6 months. We'll initiate these things within 6 months, and of course they'll be ongoing in terms of the action. Step 2, strengthen the day-to-day administration, administrative capacity. This idea of hiring an executive director of the association, a CEO, to run the affairs of the association on a daily basis. It's not something that is novel, it's something that is efficient. And this is something that we'll be looking at within 2 years to actually get this done so that the association can be more efficient, and they of course report, a person will report to the board of management. Step 3, the executive committee members held responsible for various areas in the management of the J3As is something that we'll be doing within the third year. Clear protocols for how you select these committees and these commissions, putting those things in place and seeing to it that, in fact, it's clear as to how the committees operate and how persons get to those committees. That's in year 2. The whole idea of the members of the association afforded the opportunity to participate outside of the AGM. We certainly would want to have that done, and that we want to do within the first year to get our members engaged, to be involved in the association, not just to come to an AGM, but to be involved. We have meets almost every week from January. The association is always there. The executive members are at most of the meets, and just engaging the members in that forum, that is something that can be done. It's done now to an extent, but we certainly can do it with a more concerted, deliberate effort so that we get more input from our members. And of course, in step 4, we established work group to design programs to increase the members' benefits. Membership should come with benefits. We're talking about an association, there should be benefits, and we want to make sure that our members benefit from technical expertise, having just the information that will help coaches and officials and athletes, whether it's nutritional information, whether it's the latest in terms of biomechanics or whatever it is, medical practices, preventative measures. Those are things that can be done with the use of the technology. And certainly we will do that within the first year. That's objective 3. Page 8, objective 4. 4 or 5. We want to develop a wide-ranging program to certify coaches and officials. Not having certified coaches or trained coaches is similar to sending an athlete to compete that hasn't trained. And we certainly see the benefit in athletes being trained and prepared. And there is benefit in having coaches trained and prepared. And I think that we believe, and it's not a far stretch to realize, that if we were to have a more consistent certification of coaches, we would see far greater performances from our athletes. It's the coaches who guide the athletes. I think if we invest in the coaches, invest heavily on a regular basis in our coaches, we'll have the kind of performances that we cheer for. I mean, everybody wants to see Jamaica be #1. And I think as an association, we have to facilitate the movement of our country to #1 status. So we want to implement and pursue strategies to attract and retain new coaches and officials, improving our coaches, improving our officiating. Of course, that's an area that we have to make sure we pay attention to. We see our athletes' performances rising and being very much superior in terms of the short sprints. We need to be able to see our officials at these international meets. We need to see our officials making the judgments and adjudicating some of the more sticking points in terms of appeals. I mean, I know I do a lot of protests when I go to meets. And I think it would be great for us to see many Jamaicans as ITOs, International Technical Officers, officials at these meets, and really shaping the direction of track and field for the better of the entire world. I think that we can. Jamaica's place in terms of performance should also be seen in terms of our officiating, our administration, and so on. And we certainly, as an association, will facilitate that. Recognition and incentives for coaches and officials, definitely something we're going to do within the first year. Support for coaches in their goal to ensure the safety of athletes. We want to make sure that our athletes are safe and want to support coaches to help to get athletes to be safe. Step 2, enhancing the communication between J3A, the coaches, and officials. Definitely, this is something that is very much something that we want to do within the first year, that there is communication using the technology to really make the communication a lot more effective so that everyone is on the same page. Partner with already established institutions to build on the local and international certification program. And there are so many institutions locally, the GC Foster, the UTEC, the UA, and so on, MICO. We certainly need to partner with these institutions to increase the number of persons that are certified. Objective 5, develop an effective, innovative, and comprehensive marketing and rebranding campaign for increased sponsorship. One of the things that we have to realize is that we're in an era where sports is a big business. Sports is a viable vocation for individuals, just as you are pursuing being a medical doctor, being a teacher, being a police. Being a sports person is a viable vocation for persons. And part of that is because of the sheer volume of resources, financial resources, that are being pumped into sports. And we have to make sure that as an association, we are effective and innovative, that the association also benefits, able to access these financial resources that exist, that we might be more effective. The more resources we have, the more we'll be able to fund the programs that are outlined here. And we have to make sure that there is an effort for us to rebrand the association, reposition the J3A, build the sponsorship and endorsements that the association is able to access so that we can actually do all the things that we want to do. Increase visibility of the work of the J3As locally and overseas. And this is through having a dynamic and current website. In 2012, any business or organization that does not have a functioning website is not a business or an association that is intended to be efficient and to be around for a long time. People have so many devices that are accessing the internet, and they're not willing to make a phone call anymore. We need to have a dynamic website that persons can get information that is on par with what exists around the world. Opportunities maximizing for attracting sponsorship and donation, revenue generation, generating using e-commerce. That is something that came out maybe 15, 20 years ago, and still not much of that is taking place within Jamaica and more so within the association. So we want to make sure that we are maximizing the revenue capability of the association with e-commerce and fundraising, and that we intend to do within the first year. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the action plan of Team Jackson, and we look forward to working with you to make sure that our objectives 1 to 5 are met. Thank you.